So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Teleported in Dragon Belts. So let's start the series. There was nothing but total blackness in the universe. Then a creature of unparalleled strength and awe emerged from the emptiness. Xeno-sama would be the name given to this creature. Xeno-sama was not happy with the utter emptiness and dullness that the darkness brought. Thus, Xeno started creating the multiverse in addition to the universe with his extraordinary capacity. Xeno has invoked his ability to create 12 distinct universes outside of reality. They would also give birth to creatures of unimaginable power within these universes, and Xeno would keep watch over them all. They were made for his own entertainment because he was still a kid at heart. However, the Omni King made the decision to establish gods to protect these universes, because he would not meddle in their affairs. These creatures were the result of the Omni King dividing up his power. For every cosmos, there were two distinct kinds of gods. The god of creation and the god of destruction. The gods were instructed by Xeno to maintain the universe's equilibrium, and to avoid ever putting their hands together. He would have to destroy them and replace them if he had to go back and correct their errors. The Omni King had also made the decision to create a location where disputes might be brought to a peaceful conclusion. Furthermore, heaven had also entered the world after that. Xeno returned to his kingdom after finishing his task, and the gods left for their own universes. However, only 2 of the 12 universes are the subject of this story. Universe 7 and Universe 9 were the names of those universes. In control of Universe 7 was the god of destruction, an Egyptian cat-like creature who would later be known as Beerus. His angel, Whis, was by his side. Beerus had little interest in getting involved in his universe's concerns. He only took action when it was necessary to destroy anything. Furthermore, since the case were responsible for the creation of planets and life in the 7th universe, he let them do what they did best. Whis did engage in the business of the universe, in contrast to his godly companion. He assisted in teaching the case how to use the Kai in their bodies and the idea of creation. Whis did contribute significantly to the development of Universe 7. It was home to the god of destruction, who had gone by the name Lucifer in Universe 9. And the angel who had adopted the name Michael was at his side. Both of them received the mystical arts of creation and the knowledge of Kai. Lucifer was a rapacious god of destruction who did take pleasure in his work, in contrast to his counterpart from Universe 7. The fact that he was not the supreme deity was something Lucifer detested. Additionally, he thought he could rule far more effectively and didn't like the way the Omni King had made things. Michael, the angel, had become concerned about Lucifer's desire to increase his own authority. There was conjecture among the gods and angels that Lucifer was preparing an uprising in heaven. The angel went to the 7th universe to speak with Whis and Beerus, after Michael made the decision that he had to take action before a conflict started. Because of certain ramifications, Michael was unable to act against Lucifer as the angel of Universe 9. Michael himself would vanish if Lucifer was annihilated, according to those implications. In order to deal with Lucifer while retaining Michael on this plane of existence, Whis and Beerus made the decision to set up a trap for him. At the next gathering of the gods, Lucifer had determined that this would be his time to attack. He would succeed because all of the minor angels he had gathered were trained in the art of Kai. He was surprised when Michael, his closest and most trusted angel, severed his ties to his army and left him stranded in heaven. Beerus and Lucifer himself fought in heaven as Michael and Whis dealt with Lucifer's army. The godly might and ferocity of the heavens had been shattered, almost torn apart. But after his army was vanquished, Lucifer was imprisoned in a void at the boundary of the 7th universe, guarded by 2 of Wiss's closest friends, assuring that the seal will never be broken. Michael started to wane when the god of destruction from Universe 9 was sealed. He wasn't dying. Rather, he was being deactivated since Lucifer was imprisoned. You might liken it to forcing him into a deep sleep. The Omni King had to take action because the 9th universe lacked both an angel and a god of destruction. Because without both, the universe could not exist. Thus, Xeno combined the 7th and 9th universes once more using his extraordinary power. As a result, Beerus and Whis are both in charge of the vastly bigger universe. It's time for our story to happen after billions of years. Age 737, Peozu, Mount. The forest was traversed by an elderly man who would eventually be known as Grandpa Gohan. The forest's natural sounds sounded as vibrant as ever as Gohan listened. Since it had been quite humid today, he brushed away the drop of perspiration that had trickled down his forehead. You might be wondering why Gohan was hiking on a day that was so hot. Being isolated on Mount Peozu, he was not provided with the convenience of prompt medical attention or on-the-go sustenance. He was currently on a quest to acquire some herbs that he could use to make medicine, as well as a dinner for the afternoon. This journey wasn't as simple as it once was, the martial artist sighed. This jungle adventure would have taken him no more than an hour when he was younger. However, it has managed to last an even 4 hours at the ripe old age of 80. Gohan began to reflect about his life as he traveled further. He had accomplished a lot while he was here on Earth. He became a successful martial artist after training under Master Roshi and experienced several adventures that most people would never have in their lifetime. He still needed to fill one gap in his life, though: the absence of a family. Gohan had undoubtedly had his share of romances with a number of attractive ladies throughout the years. However, he never gave the thought of getting married and abandoning the martial arts community much thought. In his advanced years, he pondered whether he was regretting not choosing to do so sooner. To have a wife and a child to call my own. Maybe even have a couple of grand. When Gohan heard a tremendous bang coming from the sky, his thoughts disappeared. He looked up at the sky, wondering what could have caused such a sound. Since they hardly ever flew over his neighborhood, the item was too small to be an airplane. He was unable to recognize the object, although he could see one distinct feature. Whatever it was, it came hurtling at amazing speeds toward the trees. When the creature landed, Gohan made the decision that he did not want to be anywhere in the vicinity. It was already too late when he attempted to flee. Boom. When the object struck the harsh surface of Mount Peozu, the forest trembled. The shocks of the impact nearly caused Gohan to trip. Gohan inhaled deeply to regain his composure. The old martial artist decided he would go explore whatever it was after he had calmed down. When Gohan arrived at his location, he mumbled, "Good grief." Some sort of spherical object was deep in a crater. Gohan approached and cautiously inspected the sphere. Even though it was clearly a form of transportation, he had never seen anything like it. It couldn't accommodate too many passengers because it was little as well. When Gohan looked through the sphere's broken window, he saw that the seat was empty. In the first place, was there no passenger? Why would you send an empty sphere all the way out here, though? Did some of the shinobi he had heard about attack him? Why, of all people, would they want to attack him? Thoughts were racing through Gohan's mind, but when he heard something, they all screeched to a halt. What? The sound of sobbing was audible from a short distance into the woodland. Following the sound into the forest, Gohan discovered a baby sitting on the ground with untamed, spiky hair. Gohan raised the baby and was shocked to see a tail drop. A baby. "Now where on earth did you come from, little guy?" he asked. "You have a tail too?" "Ha, I can't say I've heard of a clan from around these parts or anywhere that had a tail. Do you have a special Keki Genkai or something?" The youngster simply gave Gohan a naive and perplexed look. The child laughed at the way Gohan's face was twisted in contemplation. Additionally, he kicked Gohan in the cheek with a slash. Gohan laughed, "Feisty little guy, huh? Well, I just can't leave you out here all alone now, can I?" As if he understood what the elderly guy was saying, the infant shook its head. "Well, it's decided then, I'll take you home with me." He nearly forgot one crucial thing as he held the infant and started to walk back to his house. "I can't leave you without a name, little guy." For an extended period, Gohan gazed at the baby, his mind buzzing with potential names for the youngster. It took him a few moments to decide. Goku. Hide Ninja Village Igakur, months after. Namikaze Minato made an appearance on the headmaster monument's head replica. From down in the hamlet, he could hear the devastation and the cries of his people. The nine-tailed fox, the enormous creature in front of him, was the root of it all. After his wife had just given birth to their baby, an unidentified attacker had managed to abduct her and break the seal that had held the beast in place. At this point, the Kyuubi was seriously harming the hamlet, and he had to stop it. With a bitter sneer, the Kyuubi turned to face the headmaster monument. Minato said to the beast, "So you've noticed me, huh?" Orbs of energy combined to form a single, enormous sphere of core energy, as the nine tails snarled and parted its jaws. Minato flew through hand seals in a flash. "I will let you do as you please." The monument was struck by the Kyuubi's Bijidama. The attack apparently stalled within meters of the mountain, rather than striking and igniting a huge explosion. Using a space-time technique, Minato redirected the blast to a different area, while wielding his renowned tri-pronged kunai. Even though Minato could hear a huge explosion miles away, he decided to ignore it. The Yondame's instincts alerted him to impending peril, and his senses came alive. The masked man's skull was about to be struck by the kunai, as the headmaster spun at amazing speeds. When the attack truly phased through his skull, you can only imagine how shocked he was. Minato's wrist was firmly grasped by the masked man. With a rich, baritone voice, the man in the mask declared, "I'm your opponent. And it's all over for you now." The vortex seemed to be drawing Minato in toward the eye hole of his attacker's mask, and he felt a tremendous pulling feeling. Knowing that he needed to escape, Minato acted swiftly and used the Hiraishin to disappear. Before disappearing, the masked man said, "Quick one, isn't he?" Minato showed up in the area where he used to hide. He had one of his distinctive kunai buried deep in the ground. That was where he kept it in case he had to quickly flee. Minato drew himself up off the ground and mumbled, "My attack miss." And he materialized and instantly almost dragged me in. I've never seen a spirit art like that before. The masked man appeared as if out of a spinning vortex when the yondaime looked up after hearing the air in front of him distort. The man yelled, "I won't let you get away." Minato saw the Sharingan's recognizable crimson hue gazing at him in the night's darkness. With a calculating look, Minato observed the hooded figure. A shinobi who outmaneuvered the Anbu assigned by Lord Thurge himself, slipped through a top-secret barrier, and knew about the Nine-Tails seal would weaken during childbirth. The masked man just put on metal gauntlets and stretched the muscles in his neck. Furthermore, he tamed the Nine-Tails and infiltrated the barrier set up by the Hidden Leaf. Only one shinobi I've ever heard about is capable of such a thing. "Are you Madara?" inquired Minato. Before lowering his hood, the masked man cocked his head sideways, as an animal in confusion would. "That's an impossibility, Madara is dead." The man's response was straightforward. "I wouldn't be so sure. At this point it doesn't matter who you are anyway." "White target hide ninja village," replied Minato. The masked man remarked nonchalantly, "You could say I had planned all this out. Or maybe I wanted to start a war. Maybe this is all for the sake of peace." As his opponent slipped into his own posture, Minato prepared his kunai and said, "He has some dangerous ideology too. If I don't stop him now, he's going to be a bigger threat than even the Nine-Tails." The leaves in the forest around them were the only thing moving at the moment, as a fierce wind brushed them. The two remained motionless. As he hurried toward Minato, the masked man exclaimed, "Now that the Nine-Tails is free, and I've got you all to myself, there is no hope left for Hide Ninja Village." The yondaime imitated his actions. Any typical adversary would have been instantly killed when Minato stabbed forward with his kunai. However, it becomes clear once more that the opponent he was up against was anything from typical. The attacker pulled forcefully on Minato's shackles as he managed to pass through the masked man once more. Minato was encircled by the metal links. With quick thinking, Minato managed to break free from the masked man's hold once more using the Harem. Regular physical attacks have no effect on this man. But yet he materializes in an instant for a counterattack. It seems whoever is the quickest will win this battle. Minato once more attacked the masked man. "Call me willing, the quicker one will be me." Unexpectedly, Minato threw his tri-pronged kunai at the masked man. The kunai just moved through his body in phases. Minato called forth his trademark spirit art, the Rasengan, as the kunai was phasing through his opponent. The masked man lunged out to seize him as the spinning ball turned bright blue. Minato was certain that everything would end if the stranger could touch him. "I win," said the masked man, his fingertips just millimeters from the yondaime. Then Minato disappeared faster than lightning. Above the masked man, Minato materialized, holding the Rasengan in one hand and the kunai in the other. Minato blasted the masked man's back with his trademark spirit art. The intensity of the assault caused the ground beneath them to collapse. The Rasengan was digging into the masked man's bare back, and he moaned in agony. And the Harem seal had unwittingly marked him. As the masked man jumped away while gripping his arm, Minato remarked, "My flying Raijin level 2. The yondaime stood up and saw that the man's hand appeared to be dropping. What the masked man was going to say was interrupted as Minato suddenly materialized in front of him and stabbed him with his kunai. "No wonder you're declared the fastest man in the elemental nations. And very elusive as well." The masked man's body displayed a sealing array. The contract seal. As the masked man sprang back, Minato saw blood trickle from his wound and said, "Yes, now the Nine-Tails is no longer under your control." The spinning vortex materialized and started to suck up the masked man's body, saying, "The Nine-Tails will be under my control again eventually, as will this world as well." Before disappearing, the masked man made the decision to say a few final words. "There are so many ways to do it as well." Minato said, he wasn't kidding, he really plans to come after the Nine-Tails again. The creature he was speaking to roared away in the distance. He had to take action on the Nine-Tails, now that he had resolved his issues with the masked attacker. After 1 hour, Minato was seriously bleeding, as was his adored wife, Nidomama. One of the enormous claws of the Nine-Tails had pierced the two of them. Minato had already decided what he was going to do when he faced the Kyuubi once more. Minato had used the might of the death god itself to split the energy of the Kyuubi's core in half. He was going to perform the unimaginable with one part of himself after sealing the other. He intended to enclose his own son in the other half of the Nine-Tails. Before the baby could be sealed, the Nine-Tails sought to kill him since they had different plans. Both Minato and Rido's mother had been hit. Minato wanted his wife to say their last goodbyes to their lovely child because they were now dying. Ignoring the metallic taste of the blood dripping from his mouth, Minato muttered, "Kushi-chan, my time is running out." Despite the circumstances, Minato couldn't help but smile at how contented his child appeared to be sleeping. "I'll begin the 8 trigram seal in a moment and seal some of our core energy within Naruto. Let's tell him our final words." As Mido mother opened up to her child, Hiruzen and his shinobi listened, delivering her parting words of wisdom and life lessons to him. For example, honoring his masters, avoiding unsavory ladies, and avoiding legendary the Sannin, who was a pervert. With tears streaming down her face, Naruto mom exclaimed, "You'll be facing so much hardship and so much pain, Naruto-kun. And I'm sorry we can't be there for you. I hate that you'll be growing up without us. But make sure to have a dream and always stay true to your word." Minato closed his eyes, understanding that their last moments had come. "Naruto, my advice is the same as your mother's. I hope you realize that we love you." 8 trigram seal. The Yondaime and his wife had moved on to the next life with those last remarks. Additionally, it left Naruto carrying a huge load as a baby. With that heavy load, he would contribute to the transformation of the world as well as the elemental nations. At the moment, Naruto, who was now 12, was traveling to the land of waves in a boat. He was eager to experience his first actual expedition outside of the community. It didn't matter if he was confined to the same squat as his perpetually gloomy Naruto pal, or that his lovely Sakura wouldn't give him any attention. Hell, even their client Izuna, who spent a significant portion of their trip intoxicated and smelling of cheap sake, could sit on a rail spike and not care. One of the first significant measures he was taking toward becoming headmaster was this. There was so much fog around the region that it was impossible to see too far away. If you allowed it, the fog would smooth you out like a thick blanket. The boat abruptly stopped after what felt like an eternity, suggesting that it may have reached land. Izuna stepped out of the boat and remarked, "Welcome to Wave Country." Following his example, Team 7 said goodbye to the boat's captain. Despite the bridge's excellent construction, Team 7 noticed that it appeared to be far from finished. Izuna appeared to have given the situation a great deal of thought, and Naruto acknowledged to himself that he was impressed by the old drunk's current accomplishments. Izuna started guiding the shinobi back to his home. The fog had apparently dissipated by the time they left the coast, and the sun was shining as brightly as ever. On their way, Naruto must have been frightened by something because the blonde genin pulled out a shuriken and tossed it in the direction of the bushes. Wondering what had produced the commotion they had heard, the other members of his team turned to face the bushes. It came out that the adversary was a bunny rabbit. "Naruto Yubaka." Sakura slapped Naruto's head with a fairly harsh whack. "You almost killed that poor animal." The 6th headmaster was observing the bunny with perked interest, while Naruto was attempting to relieve the pain on his now bruised skull. Unusually for them at this time of year, the bunny's fur was pure white. 6th headmaster's only visible eye whitened slightly as he said, "If the bunny's fur is like that, then it must have been raised indoors." The 6th headmaster inwardly cursed. It was meant to be used as a distraction. They had just waltzed straight into a trap. And his theory was validated by the wind's abrupt whistling. The 6th headmaster yelled, "Get down," to his crew before grabbing their client and collapsing to the ground. Following their sensei's instructions, the other members of Team 7 avoided the sharp and very large metallic item that soared overhead by falling to the ground. They didn't need to be reminded twice. A single figure appeared as if out of thin air on the weapon's hilt as the spinning blade crashed into a tree trunk. The lower part of the man's face was bandaged, and he had no shirt on. His flinty eyes were fixed on them, and you could almost see the sneer he was giving them. After nearly slicing them to shreds, Naruto snarled and wanted to go attack this idiot. However, his progress was stopped by a single, hard hand from his sensei. Reaching for his headband, the 6th headmaster remarked, "I wouldn't do that, Naruto. This man isn't like the other ninja we faced. He's in a whole other league of his own." He raised it to show his left eye, which had 3 tomo markings around the pupil, and was crimson in hue. His team's reaction to his now exposed eye was mixed, particularly from his Naruto pal. Considering that only his departed clansman should have the eye he possessed. The man's bandages around his mouth stretched, suggesting a smile. 6th headmaster, the infamous copy ninja. In the Miss Bingo book, you've been listed as a wanted criminal. Reaching down, he grasped the blade's hilt and pushed, effortlessly removing it from the tree trunk. The man was gone from view. The voice, which seemed to be emanating from the nearby woodland, said, "I'm going to enjoy ending your life, 6th headmaster." With his mismatched eyes sweeping the area, the 6th headmaster declared, "Mamachi Zabuza, now missing nin from the Mist Village. You're wanted for planning and failing a coup against the current Mizukage. Fleeing the mist and taking only a few loyal followers with you. Attempting to find Zabuza's possible hiding place." The surroundings was covered by an unsettling mist that started to form out of the air. In order to cover the client and keep an eye out for Zabuza, Team 7 formed up around Izuna. However, the fog was so dense that they could only see a few feet ahead of them. After their brief altercation with the demon brothers, this was Naruto's first experience of actual combat, and he could feel his breath coming in fast and his heart racing. Both their sensei and Zabuza, who was still concealed somewhere in the surrounding foggy woodland, were causing their Naruto comrade to suffer the effects of the death tent. The Naruto friend felt the need to reach for his kunai, since the intent was frightening him more than he wished to acknowledge. Is this what it's like when two full-fledged jounin are about to do battle? The killing intent is almost overwhelming. If I stay here any longer I may lose my life. Is it worth it? The sixth headmaster yelled, Naruto friend. Which somewhat startled the boy. Calm down, it'll be alright. I won't let any of my comrades die. Sixth headmaster's confidence and firmness made Naruto buddy feel less nervous. From within the defensive formation of the genin, a familiar voice murmured, Unfortunately for you sixth headmaster, that's a promise you won't be able to keep. How did this stranger enter their formation? Naruto, Sakura, and their companion Naruto gasped in surprise. The sixth headmaster turned around and gazed. To the average bystander, he seemed paralyzed and powerless in the face of the impending crisis. Zabuza aimed to cut Tazuna in two with his enormous sword. And if sixth headmaster hadn't moved more quickly than his squad could perceive, he would have been successful. He materialized beneath Zabuza's guard and used a kunai to stab him in the stomach. However, water instead of the expected blood flowed from the cut. As he heard movement behind him, the sixth headmaster thought, a Mizubunshin already moving, Zabuza's sword was cutting through the air before the sixth headmaster could respond. As Team 7 witnessed their sensei being cut in two, you can only imagine the anguish on their faces. Zabuza's life experiences had taught him that shinobi are cunning and cunning people. Therefore, he wasn't overly shocked when water, rather than blood and gore, oozed from his abdomen. In a matter of seconds, Zabuza's neck was touched by cold steel. The sixth headmaster glared at the former Miss Shinobi and declared, It's over Zabuza. Zabuza laughed and said, I bet you really believe that, huh sixth headmaster? What do you mean? The jounin gasped in shock as he heard a voice behind the sixth headmaster say, Come on. It's never that easy. After driving his blade into the ground and spinning around, Zabuza tried to kick sixth headmaster in the back with his lashed foot. The hands of the sixth headmaster swung out and caught the extended appendage. The sixth headmaster had stopped the onslaught, albeit he took the full impact of it. Sixth headmaster swung and threw the demon of the mist a few feet from them toward the lake, channeling some of his core energy into his missiles. After Zabuza and the two clashed on the lake's surface, the sixth headmasters swiftly followed. Sakura, Naruto, and their friend Naruto were amazed by what they saw. They had never seen two jounin-level shinobi fight so fiercely. It was a sight to witness, especially for new genin like themselves. However, the sixth headmaster's Sharingan gave him the advantage in their close-quarters battle area. He was able to predict his opponent's actions and come up with strong counters for each. Zabuza attempted to drive it directly into sixth headmaster's midsection, but sixth headmaster stopped him with his knee. With a swift reaction, the copy ninja launched Zabuza a few meters back with a well-placed right hook. Zabuza must have sunk beneath the lake's surface because he did not use his core energy to stay afloat. Zabuza waited a few seconds before the sixth headmaster dove in. He looked beneath the water, but he couldn't find him. When the sixth headmaster surfaced again, he noticed the water around him right away. The sixth headmaster mumbled, This water. It feels dense. The water didn't feel so much like a liquid as a solid. The sixth headmaster understood he had stepped into a trap at that point. As a shadow hung over him, the sixth headmaster turned to see Zabuza rapidly working through hand seals. Too late sixth headmaster Zabuza's mask's pointed fangs were visible to the sixth headmaster, who obviously took his role as Demon of the Mist a little too seriously. Water prison spear dart. No? Then, the sixth headmaster was trapped in a floating water sphere. To keep the spirit art active, Zabuza maintained his palm inside the sphere and continued to channel core energy there. So much for the great Sharingan sixth headmaster, how disappointing. Damn you, snarled the sixth headmaster. Zabuza called forth another Mizubunshin and had it approach Naruto, Sakura, his Naruto friend, and Tazuna. Now onto other things. Zabuza was certain that he could murder the bridge builder and deal with the three brats using his clone. Let's see what your little team can do, sixth headmaster. In the interim, if you look closely enough, you could see it up in the sky, a little bit out in the distance. What appeared to be two kids riding on a golden cloud would be visible to you. It turned out to be Son Goku, the grandson of Son Gohan, and Krillin, the monk. Currently the two youngsters were on a very serious mission. They had been tasked by their instructor, Master Roshi, to find a stunning woman and return her to his island. He would give them instruction on how to become excellent martial artists in exchange. Grasping Goku's back, Krillin remarked, I think you might have flown a bit far out, Goku. Krillin needs some help to ride the Nimbus cloud, because his heart wasn't as pure as Goku's. Maybe you're right, Krillin, but I want to make sure I find the perfect girl for Master Roshi. Goku replied, determined to finish his job. However, he had no idea why Roshi had given them this particular task. Why didn't we just pick up the launch girl back in the desert? She was cute enough. Krillin inquired. I'm not sure if Master Roshi would have liked her or not. Goku replied. Krillin whispered, Master Roshi probably would take anything he can get. The monk immediately recognized the old guy as being as perverted as possible, even though he was aware that Kame Sennin was most likely the strongest martial artist on the globe. They had gone by several ancient settlements some time ago, Krillin thought as he peered down. He had no doubt they were undoubtedly in shinobi territory, and he didn't want to confront them. The monk had no idea that they had just passed over Wave Country, a nation devoid of shinobi. With the exception of 2 Jounin and a certain team of genin. Just be careful, Goku, I would rather avoid getting into a battle with some shinobi. Goku questioned, what are shinobi? Is that maybe a food? But Krillin gave him a whack on the head instead. Food can't fight us, you moron. No, shinobi are skilled warriors and they're dangerous. They fight and kill, all for the sake of their home village. Krillin was talking endlessly about shinobi, and Goku was listening. It caught the young warrior's attention, and he wouldn't mind facing a shinobi someday. Goku was unaware that his wish would be fulfilled at that very moment. From below, Krillin and Goku could hear the sound of fighting. They heard dignified yells of righteous determination, and then they heard what seemed like a female cry. Goku's vantage point led them to see more clearly than those on the ground. Both of Master Roshi's students were flying overhead when they noticed a man with a huge sword, flinging a bunch of children their own age. One child, wearing a bright orange outfit, appeared to be growing in size, in an attempt to outnumber the taller one, while the other two looked to be staying back. It seems that the bigger person had no trouble handling the odds, regardless of the number of the colorfully costumed children there. With a hint of fear beginning to seep into his being, Krillin remarked, that's a genin team. Although he had hoped to avoid encountering shinobi, fate seemed to have other ideas. And they seemed to be in trouble by the looks of it. Genin. Goku said, watching as a child with blue and black hair was flung a huge circular weapon as the cloud halted over the combat. As the child threw the enormous shuriken at the more senior shinobi, Krillin remarked, they're low-ranking shinobi, basically kids like you and I. They may need some help, Goku, from the looks of it they're battling a possible Jounin-level shinobi. A brilliant smile suddenly adorned Goku's face as he yelled, well then what are we waiting for? His body shivers at the prospect of fighting. Let's go. Krillin yelled, I didn't mean us, you idiot. However, he was powerless to stop the Nimbus from descending. An irrevocable shift in the path of history was imminent. Returning with Zabuza and Team 7. Demon Windmill of Shadows. Naruto friend yelled, tossing the enormous shuriken towards the original Zabuza. The shuriken sped past the Mizubunshin and made a beeline for the original, rather than the clone. Zabuza had to confess that the genin's perseverance and preparation thus far had impressed him a little. But it wasn't something he couldn't handle. Sakura was not prepared for the original Zabuza to jump over the approaching shuriken, while still controlling the water prison spirit artwork. Nice try, brats. My pal Naruto grinned. I was hoping you'd do that. Zabuza questioned with confusion, huh? Then he heard a poofing sounds behind him. He saw Naruto throw a kunai at him as he glanced over his shoulder. Those brats tricked me. Zabuza realized that he needed to free his arm because the kunai would cling to it and make him release the spirit art nevertheless. Instead of facing the 6th headmaster with one good working arm, he would prefer to do it with both arms intact. Zabuza growled, wrenched his hand out of the water prison, and jumped away from the kunai. Zabuza was scratched below the eye by the kunai. With the intention of killing the blonde in a single strike, Zabuza took out his own shuriken and was ready to throw it at Naruto. You little brat, I won't allow the likes of a mere genin draw blood from me, he said. 6th headmaster would have been the first to rise in a different existence and prevented the shuriken from ever escaping Zabuza's control. But in this one, things were going to happen differently. Power pole extend, said a child source. Power what? Zabuza questioned, and then the Mist Jounin skidded across the lake's surface, as a pole appeared to fall from the sky, and struck him across the cheek. What the devil was that? The 6th headmaster's eyes whitened. Goku, the voice of another child, yelled. Imagine how shocked everyone was when a golden cloud appeared out of the sky and parted through the dense mist, and 2 boys rode on it. One of the boys appeared to be a monk, judging by the clothing he was wearing, and the other child had the most unusual hairstyle they had ever seen was that a tail sticking out of his ass. Goku said as he sprang from the Nimbus cloud. Krillin followed suit. The Nimbus cloud soared into the sky, unwilling to participate in the inevitable events that would ensue, and Goku spun his staff as it shrank back to its original length. The sixth headmaster, what is it? Is it amusing for this hype ninja village to send 2 more brats as reinforcements? Zabuza inquired, massaging the area on his cheek where the power pole had affected him. I don't know. Having never seen these 2 children before, and not expecting them to arrive at their battle on a cloud of all things, the sixth headmaster was at a loss for words. Since the 2 were not wearing headbands, he was unable to determine whether they were associated with any of the hidden villages. Hi there, Goku gestured at Zabuza, who only arched an eyebrow. What, ready to charge forward and murder the child for the ill-considered shot he made? Zabuza inquired. After a long period, Goku eventually spoke up again. Are you a mummy? I learned all about mummies from my grandfather. Despite the circumstances, the sixth headmaster nearly laughed at the child's query, which the other child didn't find as humorous as the copy ninja did. There were brief periods of stillness during which you could practically see the steam escaping from Zabuza's ears. I read about Goku in the bingo books, so don't you idiot. One of the 7 swordsmen from the Hidden Mist village is Mamachi Zabuza. He's dangerous. Goku turned to face his pal and said, so he's not a mother. Krillin fought the need to yank out his hair if he had any at all. Zabuza ran at Goku, saying, I'm going to enjoy killing you, kid. Gohan's grandson narrowed his eyes and spun his staff, preparing for battle. However, the sixth headmaster himself appeared before Zabuza. Zabuza, your battle isn't with him. I've got it. By all means, I'll kill you first, then sixth headmaster. The 2 Jounin went back to their old fight. Hey, it's not fair. I was supposed to battle Zabuza, the mummy guy. Goku pouted as he whined, his veins pulsing with energy at the time. The want to fight always there. Trust me, Goku, I think it's best to let that sixth headmaster guy handle things. Despite being a monk, Krillin had researched the hidden villages, and, naturally, he had read about the most dangerous shinobi each village had to offer in this day and age. Mamachi Zabuza was one of the 7 swordsmen and a former Anbu from the Hidden Mist, so he fit that description. Krillin did not exactly know that he and Goku were currently outmatched, but he firmly believed it. There were all of you. Goku and Krillin turned to see a girl with emerald eyes and brilliant pink hair, observing them warily as a female voice inquired. Goku smiled as he introduced himself, saying, my name is Goku. Krillin also introduced himself, saying, and I'm Krillin. How about you? We would be impolite if we gave you our names without receiving yours in return. He was right, Sakura had to concede. I'm Sakura. Krillin examined the headband Sakura was wearing, and saw that the emblem engraved on the steel plating resembled what appeared to be a leaf. Krillin recognized it and said, wow, you're from Hyde Ninja Village Egegure, aren't you? With a smile, Sakura said, the very same. A loud voice said, and one day I'm going to be its future headmaster. Naruto approached and stood beside his female colleague, saying, I'm Naruto. The pretty vivacious genin was radiating a cheerful, lively vibe that Krillin could practically feel. It's nice to meet you, Naruto. Hey, what's up with your whiskers? Gazing at Naruto, Goku questioned, are you a cat or something? His eyes twitched, and Naruto's lively demeanor abruptly shifted, forcing him to fight the need to deck the child. Krillin remarked apologetically, pardon Goku, he's not all up there if you know what I mean. They all heard the loud shouts of Zabuza and the sixth headmaster, before anyone else could say anything. Water Dragon Spirit Artwork. After the 2 spirit art balanced each other out, Zabuza and the sixth headmaster began close quarters fighting. Goku, Krillin, and Team 7 watched as 2 water-based monster dragons emerged from the lake and battled each other. However, Zabuza started to notice something throughout their battle. The sixth headmaster appeared to be mimicking his every move and gesture, sometimes even before he performed it. What is he doing? Is he truly capable? Zabuza's eyes startled when the sixth headmaster said aloud, read the future. Did he just? Can you read my thoughts? Zabuza had been working on his next spirit art by going through hand seals, but he stopped abruptly because of sixth headmaster's mind games. Sixth headmaster, on the other hand, completed the hand seals required for his spirit art. Sixth headmaster once again completed Zabuza's sentence. The artwork of water vortex spirit with the force of a freight train, a massive torrent of water erupted from the lake and crashed into Zabuza. The water carried Zabuza through the forest, his body slamming into any trees that stood in the path of the spirit art. Zabuza coughed violently as the water finally seemed to vanish, and his body lay against the trunk of a tree that had withstood the spirit art's force. The sixth headmaster appeared next to him. Zabuza remarked, you really can see the future. The sixth headmaster withdrew his kunai, ready to kill the former Miss Shinobi, and said, I have, and this is the end of the road for you, Zabuza. The quick attack caught Goku and everyone else off guard as 2 senbon punctured Zabuza's neck, causing his eyes to widen in astonishment before closing, and his body to fall to the ground. Leaning down to check Zabuza's pulse, the sixth headmaster saw what appeared to be a hunter nin standing in the trees where the senbon had been thrown, but he couldn't find one. I appreciate you looking after Zabuza for me. The hunter Nin scooped up Zabuza's body and said, I have to go back to the Mist village now and properly dispose of him. I've been pursuing him for a while. The Nin disappeared before Six Headmaster could respond. Six Headmaster sighed and put his headband back over his left eye, sensing that core energy depletion would set in at any moment after a hard day. But he had other things to do. The Sixth Headmaster came back to his squat and saw the children standing with them, Goku and Krillin, if he had heard right. You two, the Sixth Headmaster remarked to Krillin and Goku, we need to talk. With anxieties running through his body, Krillin gasped as Goku grinned. Indeed, it was going to be a long day. It didn't take long for Team 7, Goku, and Krillin to arrive at their destination. Krillin had been urging Goku to summon the Nimbus so they could depart. The monk didn't want to spend more time with a group of shinobi than he had to, but he kept seeing the Six Headmasters' calculating eyes linger on him and Goku. The older shinobi was obviously worn out from his battle with Zabuza, but Krillin didn't think he could defeat him, even in his condition, so Krillin chose to remain silent and hope they could get away sooner rather than later. A smile spread across Azuna's face as they arrived at his house, and everyone saw that he seemed to have a bounce in his step. But the old man kept looking back at the bridge with trepidation, as though the enormous metal structure would vanish if he didn't pay enough attention to it. Home, home, home. When they heard a nice squeal coming from inside the house, Team 7, Goku, and Krillin entered to find Tazuna being embraced by a younger woman. Well, Tazuna said, excitedly running inside the house. With a hint of pride in his voice, Tazuna continued, welcome to my home everyone, and let me introduce my beautiful daughter, Tsunami. Tsunami was a stunning woman who appeared to be in her mid-20s, and, like the rest of the community, was dressed in flimsy homemade attire. So, father, these are the ones that brought you safely home, thank you all, and I must apologize for him deceiving you all like that, Tsunami said, bowing her head in traditional gratitude. Wavering aside the apologies, the Sixth Headmaster said, it's quite alright Tsunami-san, we've been informed of the error, and have all agreed to continue the mission anyway. Tsunami gave them a bowl once more before heading into the kitchen to prepare dinner for everyone. The Sixth Headmaster thought that since Tazuna was vanishing out the door and Tsunami was busy in the kitchen, it would be a good time to chat with their new friends. The Jounin found something strange about the two children, particularly the one with the monkey tail. Now that everything has been resolved, I think we should speak with our new friends. Team the grandson of Gohan seemed utterly oblivious to the gravity of the situation. Sixth Headmaster made his way out the door with a nervous Krillin and an enthusiastic Goku in tow. As soon as they were outside, Team 7 made the decision to speak among themselves. Sixth Headmaster's voice was stern but courteous, and Krillin gulped a little while Goku continued to smile. According to Naruto's friend, who had been watching Goku closely on the way to Tazuna's, there's something off about Goku-san. Goku's carefree and innocent demeanor made it hard to believe that he was the one who had saved Naruto from Zabuza an hour prior. How in the world did he arrive riding in on a golden cloud, and what the hell was that thing anyway? With his arms folded across his chest, Naruto complained, he's kind of a jerk. Sakura chuckled a little. I guess you might be upset that he called you a cat. He might be correct now that I've given them a closer look. I'm not a kid, and his Naruto companion appeared mildly pleased by the scene, but Naruto yelled, furious that even his beloved Sakura was now making fun of his whiskers. Don't you think the Krillin guy looks a little anxious? Sakura inquired. He appeared restless on the way here and kept muttering something to Goku. I assume he is a monk based on his attire and the way his head is shaved. As a Jounin who leads a Genin squad, our sensei might think we're planning to attack them or capture them, according to a friend of Naruto. I'm sure you know the ideals of monks and shinobi don't really mix well, Sakura, the friend stated. But Hyde Ninja Village isn't like that. It's not as though the village hasn't done it before. After all, we're shinobi, and the history of shinobi wasn't written by the person who treated each other the best, stated a friend of Naruto. Are the three of you coming along or what? Come on out, I'd rather not tell their story again, the Sixth Headmaster said, sticking his head in the door. After dropping their belongings, Team 7 entered Tazuna's front yard, where Krillin stood motionless and tall, staring at Sixth Headmaster, as though the man would kill him if he made the slightest movement, while Goku twirled his staff, as if he were getting ready to fight enemies that were only visible to his eyes. Now that everyone has arrived, stated the Sixth Headmaster, I want to start by thanking you both for arriving at the appropriate time. I'm not sure if I could have prevented Zabuza from attacking Naruto in time if Goku hadn't arrived when he did. Krillin answered uneasily, it's no problem, Sixth Headmaster-san. The monk's unease was noticed by the Sixth Headmaster, who raised his palms in a welcoming gesture. Calm down, Krillin-san, I won't hurt you or your friend. Sixth Headmaster took a soldier pill to temporarily alleviate his core energy exhaustion, but it was only a short-term solution, and he would likely get some sleep once he had the answers from Krillin and Goku. You must pardon my actions, Sixth Headmaster-san, but I don't really trust shinobi all that much, Krillin said with a small sigh. I have a personal history with certain shinobi in addition to being a monk. I get it, and I would definitely be a little cautious if I were in your shoes. The Sixth Headmaster smiled at him and said, but again, I assure you that you have nothing to worry. Tell me, what brings you and Goku-san to Wave Country? Krillin explained, well, we were on a mission for our master. Oh, and what is that mission? Could I ask? Goku jabbed forward with his staff and then turned and thrust the other way, saying, Master Roshi wanted us to bring some girl back to his island for him. Master Roshi. Why did that name feel so familiar? I've heard of that name before, whispered the Naruto friend. Master Roshi is who Naruto inquired. When Naruto and his companion Naruto turned to face their female teammate and sensei, they noticed that they were staring at the two lads with white eyes. Six Headmaster Sensei, what's wrong? The two are Master Roshi's pupils, Sakura inquired. Came Sennin, the legendary. When Goku finally put his staff away, he replied, yup, that's right. The young fighter had practiced using it a little, and was now fully focused on Team 7. Krillin rubbed his bald head sheepishly and remarked, well, we haven't officially received training from him yet. That's kind of what our mission is for. We find a beautiful woman and bring her back to the island. He is going to instruct us in return. Sakura, who was shocked that one of the world's greatest martial artists was requesting two guys to get him a beautiful woman so he could train, sighed. Sounds like the Kame Sennin is a bit of a pervert, if that's what's so important of a mission. Given all the filthy magazines Krillin had seen scattered throughout his home and the payment he paid to be regarded as his pupil, Krillin laughed and remarked, you have no idea, Sakura-san. Yes, Kame Sennin was a huge pervert. The sixth headmaster caught his attention and remarked, Goku-san. Yes, Headmaster 6. I've never seen anything like the motion you made with your pole. Where did you purchase that? My power pole is that. Goku smiled as he pulled out his staff once more and held it out to the shinobi, saying, my grandpa gave it to me. Your grandfather Goku-san was who the sixth headmaster inquired. The pole appeared to be someone he had seen in his youth, though he was unable to pinpoint a particular location. His name was Son Gohan. Suddenly, the solution sprang to mind. Yes, I do recall meeting Son Gohan, said the sixth headmaster. Did you know my dad? Yes and no. When I was an Anbu operative, I met Gohan on one of my operations. The next town over was too far away, and I wouldn't have been able to support my squad because I had been running low on supplies. My crew and I were located by Gohan, who also gave us food and a place to stay for the night. How's Gohan doing? Goku just stated, he's dead now. He wasn't indifferent. Rather, he wasn't yet aware of how to handle the idea of death. Well, he was sorry to learn of his grandfather's passing, he went on. Well, if I may ask, Goku-san, my sympathies. What caused Gohan's death? On the night of the full moon, a monster suddenly appeared and killed him. In order to prevent getting caught by whatever it was, my grandfather always advised me not to walk outside during a full moon. Son Gohan, like Master Roshi, was a formidable martial artist, and the sixth headmaster nodded, doubting that any ordinary man could have slain him. The creature that eventually took the old man down must have been something. That's tragic, indeed. In any case, what are you two going to do now? What else would they need to be here for? The sixth headmaster said. The two had no need to stay. They had previously seen that they needed support and had been useful in defending his kids. Don't you think it's time for us to return to Master Roshi? Goku Krillin questioned his companion. How about locating a girl for Master Roshi? If this pervy Roshi guy wants to know what a beautiful girl looks like, you should just take Sakura-chan here with you. Naruto laughed. Naruto, Sakura yelled, thrilled and ashamed that Naruto considered her such, but she didn't like the idea of accompanying Krillin and Goku to meet a perverse Sennin. What if Sakura accompanied us? That way you two will keep your end of the bargain, and if we come along, maybe this Kame Sennin can show us a thing or two, replied Naruto but abruptly. Sakura responded, but we can't leave sixth headmaster sensei. She was a little taken aback that her sensei didn't protest the notion, as soon as her buddy from Naruto stated it. The sixth headmaster responded, actually that's not that bad of an idea. Trust me, I'm not at all fond of the idea of you three going off. However, the chance to practice with Master Roshi could be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. In addition, I'll be alright here and able to concentrate on making a plan for when Zabuza gets back. If Zabuza's still alive. Goku was a little thrilled at the prospect of potentially getting to face the mummy guy, but Team 7 was shocked by this news, as were Goku and Krillin. Hunter Nin usually disposes of the body on the spot, correct Sakura? Moaned the sixth headmaster, who should have known better than to assume that his squad would have worked out that bit of information. Yes, was Sakura's response. She was the group's bookworm and had maintained more of the academic knowledge from their academy days. However, the Hunter Nin snatched up Zabuza and disappeared with him, so this one didn't do that. Additionally, he fired two Senbin weapons not typically used for assassination at specific locations along Zabuza's neck. The sixth headmaster remarked, I had noticed it earlier, but I was too tired and didn't want to have to face off against that Hunter Nin. How long till he comes back? My friend Naruto inquired. You can't just shake off the amount of damage he sustained from our battle and the two Senbins in his neck, said the sixth headmaster, shrugging his shoulders. About a week's time, if I had to guess. Just 1 week isn't a long time to train, Naruto yelled. He had assumed they would have more time to be ready. The sixth headmaster grinned and said, then you better work hard. Naruto fought the impulse to throw up and curse at his sensei. The Jounin then turned back to face Goku and Krillin. So what do you say? You'll be able to do your task, and my team will also receive something in return. Additionally, don't worry about me. Yes, I'm still exhausted, but I should be at least 50% better by tomorrow, after getting a decent night's sleep. Although Krillin didn't like the notion of returning Shinobi to Master Roshi's island, he and Goku had no other option, and Sakura was eager to assist them in completing their job in exchange for a small amount of training. I don't see a problem with it, I guess. I think it sounds fantastic, Goku smiled. He loved meeting new people, and the young warrior's blood pounded with excitement at the prospect of training with him at Master Roshi's. But how would the Nimbus Cloud accommodate them all? Krillin inquired. Buddy responded, the henge technique would probably be the best solution. The final height ninja village Egakur was thrilled to be training under a renowned martial artist, as this would help him reach his ultimate objective of killing his older brother. Once it's decided, I'll write down some scrolls for the three of you to work on while you're there tonight. After what seemed like a long conversation, the six headmasters said, alright you all, let's head in for the night. He noticed that the sun had started to set, the bright sunny day was long gone, and the beauty of twilight was beginning to set over wave country. And you all can leave in the morning. Packing it in for the night didn't seem like a bad idea, because his crew didn't need to be reminded twice, and Goku and Krillin were a little worn out from the day's activities. Everyone entered Tazuna's modest home, eager for a home-cooked lunch and a restful night's sleep. The morning after. Son Goku yawned rather loudly, sitting up from his spot on the floor and wiping the sleep from his eyes. When he cleared his vision, he noticed that the sun was shining brightly again outside the window. Then, he heard Naruto snoring, which sounded like a chainsaw. The young warrior looked around and saw that he was the only one awake at the moment. We might as well work out before having breakfast, Goku grinned before getting up from the ground and leaving. It didn't take him long to reach the clearing from the day before, and he warmed up and stretched his muscles in preparation for the upcoming training session. Once he felt that his muscles were sufficiently relaxed, he started working. His fists flew as he recalled and practiced all the katas his grandfather had taught him, blocking and retaliating against unseen foes. Goku jumped back, dodging an invisible attack, and then he once more whipped out the power pole. He grinned because this was what he loved most about his job. Getting his blood flowing through rigorous training and hard work. Soon after, Six Headmaster woke. Most would have assumed that he would have been out and hurt from yesterday's battle with Zabuza, but he was able to restore some of his core energy with that soldier pill, so he wouldn't have to worry about exhaustion setting in. However, he was extremely sore because he hadn't had a battle like that in a long time, probably not since his time in Anu. Six Headmaster also saw that Goku's sleeping bag was empty. I wonder where he's at. Six Headmaster thought, concentrating on his senses and feeling the lively boy's energy not too far away. The area where he fought Zabuza was filled with a delightful aroma, and when the Jounin entered the kitchen, he saw Tsunami preparing breakfast. The woman clearly hadn't heard the Six Headmaster arrive because she startled in fear when he stated, "You know you don't have to make us food, Tsunami-san." With a palm on her chest to control her heartbeat, Tsunami remarked, "Six Headmaster-san, you scared me. Anyway, I don't mind cooking for you all." He pointed to the empty cupboard surrounding them and said, "But you all have so little already. I'd feel bad if we ate up your already limited supply of food," he said. "In addition, my little genin will be spending a few days traveling." "Where are they going to go?" Tsunami inquired. "And while they're gone, I can help keep an eye on Tazuna and help with the bridge," the Sixth Headmaster stated, to hopefully get beneficial training. He did not want to bring up the fact that he was also planning something for Zabuza, and that Hunter Nin, figuring that doing so would only upset the woman. "Anyway, I will be out looking for Goku-sen." "Which child has a minky tail?" Tsunami asked, still a bit skeptical about if the tail was real or not. "Is he missing? I can really feel him a short distance away from here. Tell them to meet Goku and me in the same area as the day before after the others have woken up. They'll be aware of where to go." Having left Tazuna's house, Six Headmaster quickly located Goku, who was once again locked in combat that only his eyes could see. His form was impressive for his age, and Six Headmaster could see a few minor flaws here and there when he performed a move, but they were difficult to spot unless you knew what to look for. After practicing his katas in form for a while, Goku was becoming hungry, but he was still tempted to at least try out the Kamehameha wave again, so he flipped backwards and landed on the ground, panting a little as he finally put away his power pole. The Six Headmaster's well-known voice snapped Goku out of his reverie, saying, "I must say you are an impressive fighter, Goku-sen. I'd say you'd give any genin and most chunin a hard time in combat." "Thanks, Six Headmaster," Goku replied. I train real hard because I want to be a great martial artist. Well, I have to admit that you're doing a fantastic job thus far. There would be fewer casualties in the villages if a majority of young shinobi trained as diligently as you appear to. Sensei, the sixth headmaster, are you sure you want us to go to this perverted senin's house for training? Naruto's loud voice boomed out, and the two turned to find the blonde himself approaching in the area with Krillin, Sakura, and a friend of Naruto. Naruto, don't be concerned about me. Tazuna may be cared for by me, and as I mentioned, Zabuza's recovery will take around a week. The sixth headmaster, who was a little envious that he couldn't be training under the Kame Sennin, stated, you all should enjoy this experience. How can you be certain he'll even say yes? They would be returning a girl to Master Roshi's island, but that didn't mean he had to train them as well, said Naruto's friend. Besides, Sakura was too young for Master Roshi anyhow. Naruto buddy, you worry too much. I'm sure Goku and Krillin could say something nice for you three. And if that doesn't seem to work, I have this. The sixth headmaster retrieved a scroll from his pouch, marking it as an important object with the kanji. He then tossed the scroll to Krillin. What is it Wakura-sensei have that Master Roshi might want? Sakura inquired. Team 7 could practically feel the smirk behind sixth headmaster's mask as he said, call it a final resort in order to convince Master Roshi. Anyway, don't you all think it's about time to be heading out? Hello Naruto, Naruto friend and Sakura shouted together. They formed the familiar seal needed for the spirit art. Henge. The genin vanished in a cloud of smoke, to be replaced by 3 kunes, and Krillin scooped up the 3 disguised genin, and placed them in Naruto's weapon pouch, which the blonde had given to Krillin before they changed. Before turning to face Goku, Krillin muttered to the slack-legged Jounin, well, we're going to be off 6th Headmaster-sen. Called the Cloud Goku. Nimbus Goku gave a loud yell. A minute went by. Then another. And yet another. The golden cloud hovered in front of Goku, and after waiting for around 5 minutes, the Nimbus cloud finally emerged above the horizon, and plunged down into wave country. Many thanks, Nimbus Goku stated as he hopped on the cloud. Because of his pure heart, he was able to ride the cloud without fear of falling through it. Knowing that he couldn't use the cloud by himself because his heart wasn't as pure, Krillin jumped on and clung onto Goku. Goku-san be back with my students in a week, the 6th headmaster said, grabbing his attention before they could depart. Knowing that Goku wasn't very intelligent and that he had trouble remembering certain details, Krillin remarked, if you leave it up to Goku, you'll never see them again. I'll make sure they come back on time. The Nimbus then lifted up into the air and continued on its way to Master Roshi's island. Naruto, be careful, Sakura, my Naruto friend. I have no idea what awaits you throughout this training week. But never give up and give it your all. That's part of your Nindo Naruto, isn't it? The 6th headmaster grinned and started walking in the direction of Tazuna's residence, thinking that it was time to start making arrangements. The island of Master Roshi. Look, there it is. The cloud dropped from the sky and hovered only a few inches above the island's surface as Goku yelled out, and it was true that they were getting close to the Kame Sennin's tiny island home. Dumping off the cloud, Krillin said, Master Roshi. We're back, Master Roshi. Goku also called out. The two spent an entire day looking for a stunning woman to bring to my island. The famed marital artist, dressed to impress in a sleek black suit and tie, said, I had figured you two got lost or chickened out, in response to Master Roshi's question. Not at all. I wouldn't back down from training with you, Master Roshi, Goku declared. Roshi started looking around and said, you say that now, wait till you experience it. So where's this woman that you were supposed to bring to me? Roshi asked. Krillin turned around and grabbed into the weapons pouch, whispering to Sakura, get ready Sakura-sen. She's right here. Sakura was disguised as a kunai, which Krillin withdrew and threw to the ground, saying, now be amazed. By a kunai. The kunai rose in smoke, and when the cloud cleared, a young woman with bright pink hair who appeared to be in her early 20s was visible. Her emerald eyes had a humorous quality, despite her innocence. Sakura, in her henge form, fought the temptation to throw up as she said, by me Roshi-sama. As the Kame Sennin recovered, he looked to see the woman go up in smoke, and when it was gone, a much younger and angrier version stood in her place. Roshi fainted, his cheeks burned with embarrassment and a big smile plastered on his face, because he hadn't seen her interacted with a woman like that in such a long time. That was the henge technique, and by the looks of your headband, I can see you affiliated with Hyde Ninja Village Egakur-ha, Roshi said, jolting out of his reverie to examine the headband and recognizing the technique. Before bowing before the martial artist, Sakura responded, yes, Roshi-san. I must apologize for deceiving you like that. And you too, what on earth were you thinking? Roshi questioned, turning to face Goku and Krillin. It's all a part of the nature of a shinobi. visiting my island with a shinobi. But to answer your question, we did it in order to complete the task you gave us. Goku stated, we didn't just bring one. He then reached into the borrowed weapons pouch and threw the remaining kunai into the ground, revealing both Naruto and Naruto's companion, as the kunai rose in smoke. Rashi considered Goku's response, and he was angry that they had brought shinobi to his island. Rashi didn't trust them much because of the way most of them behaved in the elemental nations, and he had a few unpleasant encounters with shinobi from other villages. On the other side, they succeeded in their mission and delivered Sakura, who was truly a woman, to his island, albeit a bit too young for his tastes. So, when will the training begin with such little time? Naruto wanted to get started as soon as possible, so he asked. Ignoring Naruto's frown, he added, slowly rolled their whiskers. I never said I would train you 3 brats, only the 2 over here. Keeping his tone courteous when speaking to the Sennin, Naruto buddy continued, our sensei thought you might feel that way Ashi-san. He didn't want to, but he would play nice for the time being in order to gain strength. Here. Naruto friend produced one of the scrolls that 6 headmaster had given him. After carefully examining the scroll, Rashi said, who is your sensei? Naruto buddy said, 6 headmaster. Having heard that name previously, Rashi stroked his chin thoughtfully. The copy nin, Sharingan 6 headmaster. He wants me to coach you 3, but why? He has a lot of power himself. That's right, but a formidable missing nin named Momochi Zabuza will be back in a few weeks to murder the bridge builder. Wave Country will not endure if he succeeds. Momochi Zabuza, a former member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist and current employee of the Gato shipping industry, kept up with global events despite living on an island, particularly those involving the elemental nations. Rashi whispered, what a great time to be alive. So, Rashi-san, what did 6 Headmaster Sensei give you? It would be a good method to convince you to coach the 3 of us, he said. Rashi examined each shinobi closely before responding to the genin's query. First, there was Sakura, a girl with bright pink hair. Rashi didn't have to be their Jounin sensei to know that she was the weakest member of her team, but he could tell by the look in her emerald eyes that she had a fire within of her that was just waiting to be kindled. The child with the bright blonde hair and the rather hideous orange jumpsuit appeared to be brimming with positive energy. The smile he was flashing reminded him of the same smile he received from Goku, but the more Rashi concentrated on Naruto, the more he sensed another layer of power beneath his own, darker and full of evil intent. Even though Rashi didn't think Naruto was evil, the power beneath him was frightening, and he had terrible fashion sense. The final male member of the group had an air of arrogance, as if he was ready to face the world, and thought he could win. In contrast to Naruto, the energy of the Naruto friend was hateful and negative, and Rashi didn't think it was healthy to cling to such negativity. Anyone home? Since Rashi had been looking at them so closely and honestly, Naruto was starting to feel a little uneasy, and was tempted to prod him with a stick. The hermit knew that core energy and Kai were so similar in nature, that the scroll wouldn't be able to tell the difference in the energy he was using. Oh right, excuse me. Rashi said, waking up from his daze and looking back down at the scroll in his hand. Rashi channeled a small amount of Kai into the scroll, not enough to ignite the thing, but enough to unseal whatever item was inside. There was a little poof, and the scroll revealed a bright blue book. Is that possible? What might it be? Sakura inquired. What made this book so significant, and why did it appear somewhat familiar? It's Rashi muttered. What is it? Not appreciating the excessively theatrical atmosphere that Rashi was creating, Naruto and his unexpected Naruto companion both yelled. Ichicha is the best-selling adult romance book authored by the legendary Toad Sage. When Rashi spoke, the group's response was conflicted. You could almost see the hearts explode in his eyes behind his glasses. Naruto and Krillin made a faceplant. Sakura resisted the temptation to slug the elderly pervert after her perspiration stopped. The buddy of Naruto was tempted to use one of his Kanten spirit artworks to burn the book. Finally, Goku was perplexed. What on earth was Ichicha? Alright, Rashi said, putting aside the priceless reading materials before becoming serious. I'll train you all, but I have conditions. You'll put forth a lot of effort, follow my instructions, and refrain from criticizing my techniques. Does that make sense? Go ahead. Privy Sennin Master Rashi's staff gave him a hard blow to the head as Naruto rubbed his aching skull, and Rashi turned to face the other 2 shinobi. You must have received further training materials from your sensei, right? High was the response from both. Rashi was happy with the response, and decided to concentrate on training the shinobi, just like he would Krillin and Goku, but they also had their own training to keep them busy, so he could exert more pressure on it. So, when do we begin? A friend of Naruto inquired, eager to begin this training. Rashi's glasses glinted in the sunlight. Now. Like the others, he seemed to be getting what he wanted, so he stopped playing around and was prepared to get started. However, as they say, be careful what you ask for. Are you all prepared to start training? Master Rashi looked at each of his new pupils, searching for any misgivings or uncertainty that may prevent them from practicing, but he found none in any of them, not even in Sakura, the weakest member of the group. The old hermit was certain that his home would be gone by the end of the day if he had permitted them to train on his island, so Master Roshi decided it would be best to move them from his much smaller island to a much larger and more suitable location. He also decided to try to get some information out of his new students, find out what kind of combat experience they have. So, Krillin, have you ever practiced martial arts before? He questioned the monk. Krillin smiled, assured of his skills, and replied, yeah, I studied for 8 years at the Urinji Temple. They taught me everything I know about combat. I see. Roshi turned to face Team 7 and asked, how about the 3 of you? Roshi heard the almost bitter undertone in the young man's voice, and wondered what had happened. Before and after a certain incident with my clan, I've studied in the Inceptor Fist style. Naruto friend said, emphasizing the word incident. Only Sakura and Naruto knew what he was referring to, and small frowns appeared on their faces. I learned the fighting style they taught back in the academy, remarked Sakura. I did too, but the instructors really sucked at teaching me. Naruto frowned and muttered the last part under his breath. Not like they wanted me to be there anyway. Roshi arched an eyebrow at this, suggesting that the instructors might have singled Naruto out for some reason. Why would they have done that? There appeared to be more to Team 7 than first met the eye. Well, then I suppose I won't have to go over all the basics with you. That's excellent, so we won't waste any more time. Therefore, the first thing we'll do is for every one of you to demonstrate your true abilities to me, Roshi stated. Goku smiled. This was getting exciting. His pal Naruto just nodded, excited to demonstrate the Kame-sen the results of his training. Sakura and Krillin kept silent, both hoping to impress Roshi with their abilities. Pervy Sage, you got it. I'll show you why I'll be the headmaster in the future. Giving the man the thumbs up, Naruto remarked. I'll give the child credit for having heart. I take it that he aspires to be the headmaster of Hyde Ninja Village. The commendable objective. Well, can you make out that tree over there? Everyone looked to see the tree Roshi was pointing at, and then he pointed to the nearby boulder and said, you will sprint precisely 100 meters to that tree from this boulder. How quickly are you going to get there? Shinobi, it will come naturally to you now. No enhancing it with core energy. You get it. Hello. Roshi walked over to the tree and took out a stopwatch, saying, alright, let's get this thing started. Who wants to go first? Roshi yelled. Yes, I will. I'm going to show you all speed that could make it into the Olympics, Krillin said, turning to face Goku and the others with a pretty arrogant smile. Goku, like any other child, watched in awe as his Naruto friend sneered, almost insulted that this monk believed he had defeated him in this event. Naruto, on the other hand, was going to prove to them that he was the fastest. Krillin positioned himself beside the boulder, hunched over in runner's position, his leg muscles tensed and poised to launch at any moment. Leave, Master Roshi called out. Krillin took off in a sprint, a small cloud of dirt and rubble flying behind him. Krillin could see the tree getting closer and closer, his face set in grim determination. Roshi clicked the button on the timer as Krillin passed by him. He glanced down at the time on the watch. 10.4 seconds, I must admit that's impressive. As he tried to fill his lungs with air, Krillin whispered, thanks. He boasted, 10.4 huh, well my best is 10.1, but under these conditions, I guess I won't complain. I see. Roshi glanced around to find that his Naruto friend had taken up position this time. His onyx eyes were angry, as if he could jump at any moment. Are you ready, Naruto friend? HN. Oh well, then. Roshi muttered. Go. Determining to beat the monk's time, Naruto friend took off, pushing his leg muscles to the limit. 10.4 seconds was impressive, but he wasn't concerned. Roshi looked down and his eyes whitened slightly as Naruto friend quickly passed him, and he heard the distinctive click of the watch. You definitely beat Krillin's time, wow. For you, Naruto friend, 9.5 seconds. Roshi wasn't too shocked by the result, but he was planning to make her stronger. After Sakura, it was everyone's favorite blonde shinobi. Naruto took off, roaring with determination. Although he didn't beat Naruto friend in the dash, he managed to get an impressive time of 10.3 seconds. Naruto friend smirked, he was panting a little himself, and he could see Krillin frowning at him out of the corner of his eye. Old timer, can I leave yet? Goku yelled. Of course, Goku. The young martial artist sped off after Roshi urged him to go, but as he was rushing, Goku saw something was wrong, and the other people who were watching noted that Goku was quite quick himself. 11 seconds, I thought he'd be faster than that. Roshi replied. Pretty fast, not enough to keep up with Naruto friend, Krillin or Naruto though. Naruto noticed that Goku was constantly looking down at his shoes and thought, something isn't right here. Even the normally dense shinobi thought that Goku should have been faster than his time. He wasn't sure why, but it was a gut instinct. Can I switch my shoes and try running again, old timer? What, in fact, you going to blame your shoes for not beating our time? Krillin remarked. You know, my shoes aren't really designed for running. Roshi gave Goku a new pair of shoes, and he resumed his position beside the boulder. My shoes are all busted up. Goku started to move his toes to demonstrate his point, and everyone could see how bad his shoes were. Be ready. Goku stiffened. Leave. Rashi had pressed the button as soon as he passed him, and a large cloud of dirt and rubble erupted from behind Goku as he took off, his form becoming a slight blur as he raced ahead. A strong wind brushed against Krillin and Rashi as he passed both of them, even knocking against Team 7, who stood a little shocked at the speed Goku displayed. Rashi looked down and his eyes nearly widened in amazement. 8.5 seconds. The old hermit was taken aback by Goku's recent speed, although it shouldn't have come as a huge surprise, given that Gohan had taught him. While Naruto cried out, "Goku, it was fantastic." Krillin, on the other hand, couldn't believe his eyes. He wasn't just defeated by Naruto buddy, but also by Goku. Naruto friend simply shrugged, suggesting that he needed to work on his speed. Sakura smiled and remarked, "Great job Goku-san. I'm surprised by how fast each and every one of you is today. These are fantastic times. They're still human, though. You must transcend human level in order to become great martial artists or shinobi," Rashi remarked as he took off the enormous shell off his back. "Are you planning to run?" Rashi-sama Krillin inquired. "Yes, I am." Everyone, except for Rashi, ran over to the boulder and waited in anticipation. Rashi picked up his shell and tossed it over to them. If Rashi hadn't been about to run, everyone would have seen his shell collide with the boulder behind them and destroy it. "I haven't been getting enough exercise lately, and I want to see how I'm still holding up," Rashi said as he warmed up his muscles. "Alright, whenever you all are ready." "Be ready." Krillin held the watch up high. "Go." Everyone's eyes opened in utter shock as they felt a blur go past, unable to follow Rashi's motions. Rashi was just 100 meters away 1 minute, and now he was here, passing by them without any of them being able to see him. As his eyes failed to follow Rashi's movements, Naruto's companion thought, what incredible speed. He questioned whether even their sensei could move that quickly. Naruto also thought, I didn't see him move. He was grateful that Rashi wasn't an enemy shinobi because he knew they would all be in serious trouble if he had been. "What time am I?" did Rashi ask. Having never witnessed anybody with such speed before, Krillin stammered, 5.6 seconds. "What? 5.6. That sounds about right," Rashi remarked as he took out his shell. "Master Rashi, you're incredible," Goku declared. "I appreciate that, Goku, but you all understand now what I mean when I say to transcend the human level. Few shinobi are particularly quick, even in that regard." At last, Rashi placed the shell back on his back and remarked, "But there have been some even faster than I." "For example," Sakura inquired. "For example, the present Raikage of Kumagakure. He is regarded by some as one of the fastest guys living today." Rashi stated that the Yondaime headmaster was the only one who had ever outpaced him in speed. Rashi noticed that the sun was setting, and that the landscape was glowing a lovely shade of orange, as the day's heat started to dissipate and cool down. Naruto had long since left his orange jacket behind, but fortunately he had his white t-shirt underneath. "All fine, we'll postpone tomorrow's more rigorous training. We're going to have a great dinner in a little while. However, for the time being, we ought to complete a final small training exercise for the day. Did your sensei give you any advice to advance your shinobi training, Naruto buddy?" Sakura. Pulling out the scroll their sensei had given them, Sakura remarked, "Yes Rashi-sensei, he gave us a scroll." "Alright, you three will not be competing at the upcoming test that Goku and Krillin will be taking because you are a team. You will instead be working on the instruction that you received from the 6th headmaster." Everyone nodded when Rashi said, "When the sun finally sets, that will be the end of the training day." As Goku and Krillin departed with Rashi, Team 7 decided it was time to see exactly what training 6th headmaster Sense had in store for them. Sakura unfolded the scroll and started looking through its contents. Sakura remarked, "Tree walking and water walking, huh? Those two methods are core energy control exercises, and I've heard of them. However, their methods are also quite helpful, and will enable us to sprint up the sides of trees or any other solid surface." "Water walking is exactly what it sounds like," said a friend of Naruto, who had heard of the techniques before, but wasn't entirely sure how to use them. Naruto pouted and said, "I was hoping for some cool spirit art. But I guess it's better than nothing, and it sounds pretty cool to run up walls and on top of water. How do we go about doing it?" "As we try to climb the tree, it states that we should direct core energy into our feet and use it to stay on to the tree's side." The method didn't seem all that complex. It was meant to help them control their core energy. "Applying too little core energy will make you slip, and applying too much will apparently blow the bark off the tree," Sakura replied, looking at the scroll. "Alright, let's begin. Just so you know, team, I'm going to get this mastered way before you," claimed Naruto, grinning and excited to wrap up their training for the day. A competitive spark flashed between the two genin, eyes narrowed intently at each other, and as if given a silent signal, Naruto and Naruto friend raced off towards the nearest tree, determined to prove the other could master the technique first. As if Naruto friend snorted, not believing his blonde teammate would learn this technique before him. Sakura shook her head in the meantime, but she had a tiny smile on her face from the way the two behaved. The following morning, Master Roshi was waking up as night was gradually giving way to day. In his younger days, this was about the same time his old master would have him get up and begin training, and he would be damned if he didn't do the same to his students. It would make them stronger, and he knew Team 7 would need it if they were going to face Abusa. Roshi looked at the clock and said, 4:30 huh, well let's get this show on the road. Krillin, you wake up Naruto friend, and I'll go wake up Sakura, Naruto, and Goku. Roshi dressed in his usual clothes before nudge waking Krillin, who suppressed a groan at the time he was being woken up. As he started to ascend the stairs, Roshi knocked on Sakura's room door. Normally, Roshi would have done something obscene involving a sleeping woman, perhaps even trying to get a glimpse of them, but for Kami's sake, Sakura was 12 years old, and while he was a proud pervert, he was not a pedophile, and he could simply satisfy his perverted cravings with his new Icha book. Whoever this legendary man was, he was a master at writing adult novels. When the door opened, Sakura appeared, dressed in pink pajamas. Why are you knocking on my door now, Roshi-sensei? Sakura-san, wake up Naruto and get dressed. It's time for training. I'll meet you all outside after that. Hurry, now. Sakura complained about being awakened so early and then being instructed to do something, but she accepted it and returned to her room to change. Before everyone was gathered in front of Roshi's house, it took roughly 30 minutes. Roshi remarked, alright, today starts your real training. Oh boy, Goku exclaimed with a childlike joy. Chen, although his pal Naruto didn't express it, he was a little excited. Naruto remarked, holding back a yawn that nearly came out of his mouth, let's get it done, old man. He was prepared for this training, but he was also a little worn out. Bright Sakura's emerald eyes glowed with resolve. The female shinobi would not abandon her colleagues. Before correcting his glasses, Roshi stated, before we begin, let me share some wise words about the martial arts. Mastering the Turtle School martial arts isn't about winning fights or even wooing the pretty women who might see you perform. You will all get stronger and more mentally and physically fit by learning and becoming proficient in these martial arts. Through fighting, martial arts will help you form relationships with other people. The sage advice from the typically perverted senin was committed to memory by everyone but one. Goku responded, perplexed by his teacher's remarks, I don't get it. Roshi, who was as dense as could be, chose to explain what he meant until everyone else had recovered. Team 7 and Krillin face jumped the ground, their legs sticking hilariously up in the air, while a drop of perspiration trickled down his brow. Roshi gave a straightforward explanation. What I mean, Goku, is train as hard as you can and enjoy living a full life. Oh, Goku replied, his eyes opening as he realized, that makes perfect sense. Naruto reflected, even I'm not that dense. Aren't you a little foolish, Krillin questioned Goku. In any case, are you all prepared to begin this training? Roshi questioned the assembly. Hello. Well, let's start with some mild running, so try to keep up. Roshi started to jog after saying that, and his new classmates quickly followed. The light jog was going well so far, and none of them appeared to be at all exhausted. They had been running for about 20 minutes before they arrived at a small town, where Master Roshi made them stop in front of a milk store, where he and the owner struck up a quiet conversation, while the others wondered what was going on. They all ran along the shoreline, the sun rising over their forms as they passed the ocean. Alright, come get a box of milk, each of you. We need to make some deliveries. Are we bringing milk? The Naruto friend's eye moved slightly, and Sakura was equally perplexed as Naruto, who asked, what the hell is going on? Goku hoped Roshi would allow them to drink some milk. As they awaited the next set of orders, they all snatched up a crate of milk. Is delivering milk a component of the training? Roshi-sama, Krillin inquired. Roshi turned and started to skip down the road, saying, yes, we will be skipping for the first 2 kilos. We have to get it all delivered before breakfast, so I better not see any slouching. But despite the strangeness of the training thus far, they all obeyed their sensei's orders, and skipped the 2 miles down to the first houses, where they delivered the milk. Roshi then had them zigzag along the trees before running down a few more miles to continue delivering the milk. They all chortled in confusion. It goes without saying that by the time they finished the final delivery, they were all exhausted, though Sakura and Krillin were the most affected. The final house was located on a tall mountain, and as they were resting, the occupant of the house emerged. Hasn't it been a while? Roshi-sama, the man questioned Roshi. Abbot, it's good to see you, and yes it has. Ah, I see you have some new students, and by the look of those 3 I can see they're shinobi, the now named Abbot said with a smile to the turtle hermit. I never thought you would have accepted shinobi as classmates. They're some decent kids, even though I wouldn't have thought it myself. All of them exhibit promise, Roshi told Abbot. Roshi's remarks made Goku, Krillin, and Team 7 tense up. Roshi slapped Naruto on the head with his cane as he remarked, "Of course we show promise. If I'm going to be the next headmaster, then I can't just give up." "Well, your goal is admirable, Naruto. Watch your manners and don't try to sound too arrogant," Roshi responded. "To what extent do they demonstrate Roshi-sama's promise?" did Abbott ask. "I think they could all compete in the upcoming event in 8 months if they keep up their diligent training. I'll enter Goku and Krillin if they continue to do well. I can't say the same for my friends Naruto, Sakura, and Naruto because we don't have much time together." "You're planning to enter the world tournament with us?" with a tone of surprise and amazement, Krillin inquired. "What is this competition that everyone is discussing?" my friend Naruto pondered. Goku also spoke up and inquired about the competition. "Do none of you understand what the world tournament is? The best fighters from all over the world come to compete in the tournament, which is held every 5 years, Krillin remarked, startled that they were unaware of this extremely rare event. He figured he might as well enlighten the ignorant. To determine who is the greatest fighter in the world, competitors from a variety of backgrounds compete. Although his companion Naruto was interested in this event, his primary objective in life was to overcome his older brother and get revenge on his clan. Perhaps he would compete after defeating Itachi. On the other hand, Naruto was ecstatic about the prospect of playing in the world tournament and proving to the world that he was capable of leading the Hype Ninja village. The idea of such a tournament made Sakura a little nervous. Roshi snapped them out of their individual fantasies by saying, "Your goal, while competing to be the best fighter at the tournament, isn't to win. Real life doesn't work like that. Your participation in the competition is just intended to help you advance as a fighter. You all need to inquire with your headmaster about my intention to enter Goku and Krillin." "Hello," said Team 7. Then they all rushed out again, saying, "Now Abbott, we must be off. We have more training to get done today." On Metro West Island, the man who sent the unidentified fighter flying was none other than Yamcha the Bandit, who had 8 months to prepare for the impending tournament. A martial artist howled as he was launched out the dojo door. "Go!" Yamcha Bulma yelled. Smirking, Yamcha ducked beneath a blow from one of his opponents and kicked back, sending his opponent falling to the ground. Yamcha then leaped away as a much bigger fist attempted to strike him from the side. "You speak with a lot of game, punk." His opponent, who was considerably bigger and more muscular, observed, "You don't seem all that tough." Yamcha grinned, understanding that the man's size didn't really matter to him. "Come experience my wolf fang fists for yourself." With his hands cupped, Yamcha blasted the larger man across the cheek as he bounded forward, and his larger opponent thought he saw him change from a human to a wolf. It was enough to send him falling to the ground, his tongue sticking out and his eyes whirling. This is not nearly as strong as the fighters that will be competing in the event. Just so Goku can see how far I've progressed since our last bout, I hope he comes in. Observing Yamcha, Bulma flushed and said, "He sure has gotten stronger." Yamcha then repositioned himself in his posture, prepared to resume his training. Back in the land of waves, with the sixth headmaster. One eye was closed when Sixth Headmaster was discovered in the woods outside Tazuna's house. His eyes opened as if a silent alarm had gone off, and he jumped out of the way when a barrage of kunai was hurled at him. Sixth Headmaster backflipped and ended up sticking to a tree, quickly throwing up his defense and blocking a blow from his opponent. His opponent turned out to be a perfect duplicate of himself. The Sixth Headmaster kicked his clone and pushed its fist to the side, causing it to grunt as it was knocked down the tree. After regaining its balance, the clone engaged in combat with its creator. On the side of the tree they were currently stuck on, Sixth Headmaster and his clone engaged in a fierce desperate art battle. Since his village wasn't at war, Sixth Headmaster hadn't really trained all that much, and his pride that he would always be prepared and able to face any threat nearly cost him his team, client, and himself that day. If it weren't for Goku's distraction, he couldn't imagine what might have happened. As a result, the copy ninja was diving back into his training whenever he had some free time. After overcoming his clone's defense, the original Sixth Headmaster struck him with a hard right and an uppercut that sent his creation flying from the tree. The clone hit the ground and grunted violently, its visible eye opening briefly to see his creator descending upon him with a hand encased in lightning core energy. The clone thought it was fun being alive while it lasted. The clone gasped before being impaled by Six Headmaster Chidori, and a few moments later, Six Headmaster let the lightning core energy disperse and let out a pant. He hadn't trained like this in a long time, so even though he felt exhausted, he couldn't deny that it felt great to finally get his blood pumping and get stronger through hard work. Six Headmaster looked up at the sky, noticing that the sun had reached a high peak in the sky. He assumed it was now afternoon, and Tazuna was likely taking a break from building the bridge, and since his other cage bunch hadn't dispersed, it meant there was no sign of the enemy. Before returning to Tazuna's, the Sixth Headmaster made the decision to rest. The copy ninja started to walk through the woods, simply enjoying the peace it brought him. It was amazing to think that in a world as crazy as theirs, you could find some sort of relative peace in the little things that others overlooked. As he trudged deeper into the woods, he noticed a young woman who appeared to have noticed his arrival, and was staring at him for a moment before smiling. She said, "Hello." Although he appeared amicable, the Sixth Headmaster was on high alert, and just because the woman in front of him was young and appeared innocent, didn't mean she wasn't dangerous. "Greetings, ma'am," he said sweetly. "If it's okay with you, may I ask what you're doing out here?" "I was simply finishing up some training. I reasoned that since I had some spare time, I should take advantage of it to better myself. It's better than just sitting around. How about you?" "I was merely gathering herbs so I could give my pal a medicine. I failed to introduce myself, and he was hurt in an accident," she replied. "Oh, where are my manners? By the way, my name is Haku." "Well, it's good to meet you, huh? Sixth Headmaster is my name." Haku realized, "Oh, I've heard of you. You're the well-known copy ninja, aren't you?" The Sixth Headmaster smiled and said, "That I am." "How did you find out that I was the copy ninja, though?" "Reading a bingo book is probably the only way you, as a citizen, could have learned such material. But that type of reading material is prohibited for civilians." After muttering a curse to herself, Haku said, "It was nice meeting you, Sixth Headmaster-san. My friend is a shinobi, and he happened to have a bingo book on him." Haku then packed her belongings and turned around. "Why is Hunter Nin-san in such a rush?" After Haku's eyes opened, 3 senbon fell from her robe's sleeve, and she flung them at Sixth Headmaster, who swiftly retaliated by drawing a kunai and deflecting each senbon. "How did you figure that out?" With a frown on her face, Haku inquired. "You resemble the Hunter Nin who took Sabusa away in terms of your body type, hair color, and vocal tone. I am aware that Hunter Nin frequently immediately dispose of their targeted target's body. But since you didn't, I'm going to presume you're his collaborator." "That's impressive. What are your next plans?" Haku inquired. "Nothing. Nothing. Normally, in order to get information about Zabuza, I would try to catch you. However, I don't know anything about you, and it would be silly for me to enter war without knowing what I was getting myself into. So I'll release you." "I see." Haku gently retreated, her gaze never wandering from Sixth Headmaster. Even a brief instant away from him may mean the end for her. "I do have a message for Zabuza. After he gets healthy, he should avoid Tazuna and his family." Sixth Headmaster kept his senses hot, making sure she wouldn't try to sneak attack him, but once he felt her core energy leave the area, he relaxed. "Otherwise," he warned, "I promise the next time we fight, it will be his last battle." He watched as Haku nodded before vanishing into the woods. The Sixth Headmaster jumped into the forest and started walking back to Tazuna's, saying, "I'd better get back to Tazuna. I hope you're training hard, guys. I feel like this upcoming battle will be even tougher than the last."